Lisa,
Yes, baby girl.
when I grow up, I want to be a woman to society.
Then so shall you be.
Hey y'all, welcome back. This is One Menace to Society. I'm Lisa Landry. I'm thrilled to speak with today's guest. She is a young practicing attorney. She is currently in the state of Oklahoma. Please welcome to the podcast my friend Felina Rivera.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you so much for being here. You know, I'm really excited to speak with you because you are a young attorney. You're one of those millennials. And I think we need a lot of young people entering the law field.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably a senior millennial. Like, I'm like right there on the cusp. I always considered myself like Gen X or Y or whatever, but like I am technically a millennial, just a much older one. But it doesn't really make a difference whether I get treated like I'm 27 rather than 37 in the courtroom anyway. So I think I probably definitely have the millennial perspective when it comes to practicing law, for sure.
For sure. That would hammer it home, girl.
Well, I mean, in terms of the practice of law and attorneys, only about 10% of attorneys actually do courtroom time. And I'm so sorry if this is getting loud. It's raining while I'm driving.
Oh, yeah, it's been raining in Oklahoma. Look out, there's a lot of twisters, I hear.
Yeah, I've like grown up here, so I just grew up watching them pass us by and kind of like hanging out by the shelter. We're like, oh, there's one. Is it getting close? Nah. Do we need to go in the shelter? Nah.
We'll just wait here till the TV goes out.
People suddenly freak out when they come to Oklahoma. I'm like, it's fine.
There's only 10% of lawyers who practice courtroom law or go into the courtroom?
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens outside of the courtroom. Transactional law is what I think a lot of attorneys do, and that's how I started out. But I am now actually practicing in the courtroom as a trial attorney, and I've only been doing that for the past year, and it's been really interesting. I do insurance defense, which sounds super fucking boring. But if you're a legal nerd and like research and writing, the issues that you deal with get really interesting. And, part of that is, being trained on how to behave in a courtroom and what to expect and the temperament of judges. It's really a drama. And the people who dominate, at least in Oklahoma, and I would imagine this is probably the case in most states, it's old white dudes. I mean, it's a old white dudes club. And, the law firm I work at, it's like, I think there's 10 to 13 lawyers. They're all old white men, except for me and one other young woman. We're the only ones that are even in our 30s. And I'm the only one that's not white.
What's that like?
Well, it can be really interesting. People look at me. I get assumed that I'm the paralegal or the secretary or whatever. Is an assumption that clients make, that opposing counsel makes. I'm on the defense side. I may show up in a courtroom to, a deposition to depose a plaintiff who's suing my client. And, I've had scenarios where the plaintiff themselves, even though I was the one conducting the deposition, still just couldn't get it in their head that I was the attorney.
Who is this brown young woman asking me questions?
Yeah, and I use it to my advantage because people will tell me more things than they probably should. They're like, oh, this harmless little lady. So it's interesting because I don't come from a traditional background where a lot of attorneys, even female attorneys whose granddaddies and great-granddaddies were district court judges and their brothers own a law firm. Nepotism really rules in the legal field. And I don't have any of those connections. Like, my dad's from Mexico, and he didn't even graduate from high school. So, I don't have anybody that gives me those opportunities. So I take them where I can get them, but it is somewhat insulting sometimes.
Yeah, I can imagine because, you already have to work harder because there's this perception that you're, first of all, brown and young and female And then on top of
Right.
that, you don't come from the right class of society that runs the courtrooms.
Right, yeah. I mean, my boss just could not understand why I was getting pissed off at about 6 months into my job there. He thought it was real funny to call me the intern. I'm like, I've been practicing for 7 years. I'm 37 years old. It's not like I just finished law school by any means. And, you know, it wouldn't have been so insulting but for the fact that the case assignments that I was being given were softballs.
Huh.
And it just was getting so frustrating to be jokingly, quote unquote, called the intern, and then also being asked to like transcribe a deposition or something, you know, stupid that should have been going to a paralegal.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, to top it all off, you know, one day my boss comes back from a hearing and he says, oh, plaintiff's counsel sent a little hottie. Felina, the next time there's a hearing in that case, I'll send you. Maybe you two can mud-wrestle. And I'm like, really? You're going to say that to me? In front of staff, like in front of the other attorneys in our office, in front of our paralegal. And so I called him out on it. You know, I called him. He left the office right after. I called him on his cell phone. I said, you know what? I didn't really appreciate that. And his response was, well, you're too sensitive. You didn't like the intern joke. You don't like this. I can't be worried about a discrimination suit. So if you can't buck up and handle it, then this job isn't going to work out.
And that's an attorney. That's an attorney. Somebody who actually knows labor laws.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm like, you're creating a scenario for there to be a discrimination suit, dude. Like, just shut your mouth. And it pissed me off so bad the more I thought about it because, you know, by me having the balls to say, hey, I didn't appreciate that, I was setting a boundary with him. And, you know, in response, he says, oh, well, you're too sensitive. And that's a way of gaslighting me into shutting up and never bringing up my issues or perspectives later on.
That's really abusive, you know. That's extremely patriarchal. And I've experienced that so many times in comedy. Like, you can set boundaries with somebody who is clearly out of their mind or clearly taking advantage of you or clearly misogynistic, racist, a rapist, la, la, la. And you are all of a sudden the sensitive person who's a bitch, and then they will turn around and destroy your reputation behind your back because they're bullies.
To his credit, I mean, he called me back and he was like, I don't want you to be worried about your job and blah, blah, blah. Like, he kind of backtracked, but for about a month, he treated me real shitty. It was almost like he was looking for another reason to fire me. He was nitpicking all my work and, you know, things leveled out now and it's, you know, better now, but it was just crazy to be treated this way by someone who, first off, recognized that there was a lack of diversity at the firm and hired me in part because of that and because I was supposedly capable, and then to pull such a 180 and treat me that way. Like, you hire me as a diverse hire and then you treat me differently. Stop doing that.
Yeah, I'm sorry because your job's already stressful enough.
Well, yeah, I don't need him to be stressing me out. Like, the job itself can be stressful. Being before a judge is stressful. Making sure you're properly prepared is stressful. You know, not knowing what to anticipate, trying to anticipate the things that can't be anticipated. And, you know, the last thing I need is a boss who doesn't support me, who isn't, you know, who claimed to be a mentor and then pulled that shit. You know, it's just like, it's very disheartening.
It's not good for your clients either. It's not good for the people that you're representing.
No, absolutely. And, you know, that had, I think in part, it had a lot more to do with me being, or him perceiving me to be young and inexperienced more than anything.
Yeah, but they hired you, so he knows that's not the reality. That's just his little fantasy of you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, he's age discriminated against the young. Like, I've seen him make comments to other people, and maybe that's just his own insecurity because he's getting older in his career. But it's just, and I see that happen, like, you know, just speaking of the millennial perspective, like, I'll go into the courtroom and, I mean, it's so funny. Like, there are these men that are still practicing who can't remember what date their hearing was supposed to be. They show up on the wrong docket. You know, they're in their 80s, 90s even, and, like, you know, they chit chat with the judge, and it's bizarre. It's such a drama to go to court. Like, it's just entertaining. But, you know, the judges are changing as well. I mean, I see turnover pretty frequently here in Oklahoma. There's quite a few female judges, which is great. Some of the judges are no nonsense. Some of them have no balls and don't want to do anything risky. I mean, it's just all over the place. But I'll walk into the courtroom and I always look around and see how many other women are there and how many other young lawyers are there. More and more I see it level out. One day I remember walking in and seeing nothing but female attorneys. There was only one male attorney who happened to be my co-counsel in the room.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, I like it.
Well, yeah, because there's room for everybody. I'm not one of those people who hates all old white men or any of that nonsense.
Right,
but it's like, come on, we gotta have diversity. We have to all have representation, and we all have to be heard without bias.
Absolutely. And, the thing about my boss's comment, I honestly don't give a shit. Make jokes about how I look. I really wanted to just be like, nobody wants to see you in a spandex. I wanted to just joke back with him. And if I had been given equal assignments, I probably would have had that attitude about it. And I think he was just totally oblivious to the fact that he is not treating me he's treating me like a baby attorney who is an intern.
Yeah, well,
and
he sounds like a headliner who's messing with the MC. To me, he still sees you as an open micer. He won't let you come up to feature or headline status.
Right, yeah. But, the underlying issue was that, not just him, but another attorney in my office, most of the other attorneys in my office, they'll give me tasks, on their cases, and they'll be like, oh, well, I need to handle this hearing because opposing counsel, he's a shark, or he's been practicing for 30 years, or he's, whatever. And I'm like, who fucking cares? I can handle my own. You're on my side. We're on the same team. I don't need you to be thinking I can't handle my own. If I'm young in this field, fine. Then teach me how to handle it myself. Don't go fucking do it for me. That shit pisses me off.
Yeah.
Is, calling someone because they think I can't handle the phone call rather than telling me, the things I should be looking out for when I handle it. It was the underlying, thing that, oh, well, I was only capable of going against another young female attorney. That's my equal. No, fuck that.
You are gladiator.
Yeah. Sorry, I get a little carried away. Yeah.
No, I think it's wonderful. I love it. I love it. You're passionate. And it does feel bad to be negated like that on a regular basis. Yeah,
and I know I'm a badass bitch. I know what I'm capable of, and it pisses me off that they don't, but it drives me too, because I'll just leave and go somewhere else and be a rock star, and they can go, oh well, shit, we lost out. So I just let it motivate me to do more.
I love it. Speaking about doing more, I want to ask you, because I know that you recently got barred in Colorado. So now you're barred in Oklahoma, where they just passed medical marijuana not so long ago. And of course, in Colorado, cannabis is legal. It's recreational, medical, and now they're going to have mushrooms available for the public. What is it like to practice in two such very different environments?
Well, I will say that I haven't, since I just got barred in Colorado, I actually haven't taken any cases in Colorado as of yet. But I actually have spent a lot of time there. The reasons why I've got the Colorado bar license involve an ex-boyfriend who is also an attorney in Colorado. So I won't go into that, but needless to say, I have been around it, even though I haven't been practicing in Colorado. Technically, I haven't had a case there yet.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked before the show a little bit just involving the bar process. I took a test here in Oklahoma to get my bar license. And then after you've practiced in our state, some states recognize reciprocity. And so if you've practiced for a certain number of years and meet a certain number of criteria, you can apply for reciprocity to be licensed in that state. So that's what I did with Colorado. So I didn't have to take another bar exam.
Oh, wow.
Right, but I had to take an ethics test, and I've got to do a few little continued legal education classes that are specific to Colorado.
Like bong hits, they teach you how to do really solid bong hits before you walk into court.
Right,
I'm just kidding.
Yes, I mean, that's what everybody does in that state now, right? And that's what everybody's doing in Oklahoma now, too. We're all getting our medical cards, and we're like, hey, it's legal. Don't, but it's legal. But practice in Colorado. I gotta say, it's probably very similar to Oklahoma now, and watching the shift here in our state. I mean, it's been less than a year. You know, if you would have asked me a year ago if I was going to go on an interview, which I'll get into later, with a woman who practiced solely in cannabis law, and then get high with her at the end of the interview, I would have been like, "You're crazy, what?" But you know, that may or may not have happened.
I think if that did happen, that's wonderful. Like people go out have a drink after an interview together just to kind of get to know one another. Why would you not have cannabis if you're legally able to smoke a joint together and speak about your thoughts? Why would you not do so?
Exactly.
It's better than downing a scotch at the hotel bar.
Right. But yeah, you know, in terms of cannabis being legal, you know, in Colorado or Oklahoma, I mean, I think the biggest concerns have been, where's the money going to go, for one? And we've seen Colorado do a really good job of giving it back to their community, which has been impressive. Oklahoma really needs to follow suit. We've got the #1 incarceration rate of women in our state, and a lot of women are there for felony possession of marijuana.
And a lot of those women statistically are survivors of severe childhood trauma that they never got help for. So they're already victims, and now they're locked in for smoking flowers, so they're away from their kids.
Right, and then it's a strain on the DHS system in Oklahoma, which is constantly having its budget cut in this very red state because we only care about, you know, keeping kids alive when they're in the womb, but once they come out, we don't give a fuck. You know, we've got just shit legislature. We had like one Democrat win one Senate seat in the last election. Even CNN was like, "What? I wouldn't do that here in very, very solid red Bible Belt, buckle of the Bible Belt, Oklahoma." So, you know, there is hope, and I like to think that cannabis will bring us all together.
Yeah.
Just as it does, you know, outside of politics, I think it can do the same in politics, because in Oklahoma, we like our guns, but we wanted our weed too.
And y'all fought for it, and you kept both.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done. I think that's rad. Yeah.
And, you know, fortunately, I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with Colorado being a bordering state, and seeing that it worked there made us feel safe about making that transition in our state as well.
The idea of cannabis bringing people together makes sense to me, because it doesn't matter how different some of our ideologies might be. If we can just like chill out and see each other as human, maybe we can work a few problems out together, you know?
Right. Well, and it's just so funny. I feel like there are a lot of like closet pot smokers in the state of Oklahoma, and a lot of them are these conservative right-wing Republicans. I've got family who like really fit in that description, but they're like, and they're professionals, you know, and until recently they've had to stay in the closet about their pot smoking.
Yeah.
But now, you know, they're slowly I mean, it still feels like a crime. Like, people are like, I'm like ballsy. I'll stand outside and like smoke a joint. And I'm like, what? Look at me. But not everybody feels that way. You know, a lot of people are still like, we need to sneak away and hide this, but you're starting to slowly see people go, oh, well, we don't have to be quite so secretive about this now.
Right.
And it's funny because Oklahoma's got looser laws about where you can smoke it than Colorado does, because Colorado, you can't smoke a cigarette fucking anywhere. Like, I mean, they've got...
You gotta walk to Kansas.
Yeah, like, they've got regulations to where, like, you can be outside and you're still getting in trouble for smoking. It's like, they've got a whole sections, like in Boulder, Colorado, on Pearl Street. Like, you can't even smoke in the whole of that district. Like, even if you're walking around, you you cross a threshold and it's like, no smoking beyond here. Well, in Oklahoma, you can fucking smoke anywhere still.
Yeah.
And because we're, unhealthy as fuck. And you can also... So, like, the way the laws are written right now, you can smoke cannabis wherever cigarettes can be smoked.
But see, I think that's the way it should be. I like that. See, I'm not from your state, so I have a different take on Oklahoma. I think there's a lot of autonomous values, independence. Being independent is like a big deal, but then a lot of people don't get to enjoy that because there's a lot of racism and there's a lot of women should be barefoot in the kitchen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah. But it'd be
You're
cool
not
if
wrong.
everybody got to smoke wherever they wanted, as long as they're not blowing smoke in anybody's face, you know?
Right. And I mean, what I've kind of seen happen here is like, nobody's really smoking inside. Even like, we still allow smoking in bars. Nobody's smoking pot inside the bar. They might on a crazy night. People are smoking vape pens in the bar. But, people just like go out back and smoke a joint like it's no thing anymore, and cops walk by. I mean, we had a music festival about a month ago in Oklahoma, which is actually a pretty big one. There was like, I don't know, like 50, 60,000 people showed up. Like, it was pretty crazy. And, we're walking down the street, smoking a joint, cops walking along. I mean, they don't say anything. It's, it's just not a thing anymore. And that is just the shift to watch it happen and be from this state, this very conservative state, and see that happen. It's like, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, that sounds really awesome. That's liberating.
Yeah, it really is. And, even after, I somewhat touched on why I got my Colorado license. And even after that relationship fell through, I actually still was like, I may still move to Colorado because it's a state, man. And like, I really want to be able to smoke pot. I'd like to work in cannabis law. And then the laws changed here. And I was like, I think I'm going to stay here. We've got pretty loose laws. It's like the Wild West. Let's see what happens.
Yeah,
so,
that's great.
But, the practice of law itself is becoming more, without borders, I guess. There are some states where you can take a test, and if it's a UBE state, I can't remember what that stands for, but if that particular state is a UBE state and you take the bar exam there, then you automatically qualify for any other state that is also UBE, a UBE testing state. And I think there's something like 30 or 40 states right now. I can't remember the last time I looked how many there were. But you've got situations where, people's residencies more up in the air, and there's multiple clients, multiple plaintiffs, multiple defendants from different states, and it's helpful to have a bar license in more than one state because people just don't live in the same spot and stay still as much as they used to. I anticipate this Colorado license will come in handy, even though I haven't used it quite yet, especially with Oklahoma, moving in that direction. And, I've seen a lot of investors from other states come here wanting to participate in the industry here now that our state is legal. You've got, established cannabis companies in Colorado, California, looking for new opportunities. And the way the law is written in Oklahoma is you have to be a resident in our state to own more than 25% of a cannabis company here. You can have an investor that lives out of state but they cannot invest more than 25% or have more than 25% ownership of the company. So people are moving here because the cost of living is a lot cheaper, and they've got their businesses already established. And I know people, potential clients who lived in California, set up shop there, got a solidly well-established cannabis business there, and they just moved here, and they're starting in this new frontier so they can be residents and own more of the stake here. It's really interesting. It's very interesting to watch.
It's gonna be very, like you're saying, interesting to see how this all plays out with an influx of new cultures coming in.
Yeah,
it's gonna be great. Diversity is really good. Changes things for the better.
It's great. I see a lot of women in this industry,
which
is really refreshing. And, I kind of love the fact that, it is the female plant, the marijuana plant, it's a female cannabis plant that produces, THC flowering pot. And so it only makes sense that it become a female-dominated industry, in my opinion.
I was reading this research study about how, I think this is shifting now. This is from a few years back. It was talking about how cannabis is one of the few industries that is not male dominated because women got in on the ground level. And now it's kind of shifting because, for instance, Coke is going to start putting CBD oil in their beverages and stuff like that. It's shifting into more men getting in and corporations kind of trying to take over.
Right. Yeah. But I feel like, and maybe, I mean, this is total gut instinct. And I'm an investor myself in a cannabis company in my hometown. We've got a grow and a couple dispensaries and a processing lab. And what I see is that, yeah, there's going to be some chains. There's going to be some, big corporations trying to participate and capitalize on the market. But at the end of the day, like, cannabis smokers and users like really care about where their product comes from and like, what it does for you, and especially if it's locally grown. Like, I just don't think that big corporations are ever going to be able to totally usurp the local industry in this particular field. I just don't see that happening because they can't create the personalized experience that pot smokers want. I don't want to go buy my pot
from Walmart. You want to go to
No,
Walmart?
no, like that's
I want that
insane.
discount strain made in
Shit,
China.
No, I mean, like if I'm in a pinch, whatever, maybe, but like I'm not gonna go on the regular, like going and buying something like that. Somebody who's taking shortcuts and is using ethanol and making their vapes and stuff like that. And so, I mean, a big part of it is education too, and teaching people, okay, well, not all pot is created equal. Not all of those vape pens or edibles you like are created equal. Either. Like, there's some health concerns that go with, vapes that are distilled using ethanol or alcohol versus an organic process like the company that I'm part of uses, And when you teach that to people, they're like, oh, fuck, like, they care. And so...
No, you make a lot of sense. I agree with you completely, and I love that you are thinking like that. It's very visionary and also very local at the same time. And, you're right. If you're using cannabis for purely medical reasons, one strain does not fit all.
No, not at all. So, like, there's a pretty big dispensary that has, a few locations in Oklahoma, and I see that being pretty common. But I just don't see the Walmarts coming in, the Coca-Colas, and being able to really dominate. Like, I just don't see it. They're going to get their piece of the pie for sure. But I don't see it, I don't see them taking it over or taking it away from locally owned businesses. And I love that, and I want to represent, that's who my client base is going to be, is people like that, who are trying to grow their own business. And I want to help them. I want to see it succeed. I want to see them succeed. So, yeah.
You're like an all-around grower. You're a grower.
Literally and figuratively, yes.
Felina, what else are you doing besides law this summer?
Well, I do have a tour coming up. I happen to be a singer-songwriter, a musician as well, and I'm going to be touring in the Midwest a little bit. I'll be in Kansas City, Missouri, and Wichita at the Elbow Room mid-June. But you can find all that kind of information about me on my website for my music. It's FELINA and the FEELS.com. So if anybody's in the Midwest region, come check me out.
I love the band name, FELINAandthefeels.com, or we find you, Felina Rivera, online as an attorney if we need your services in Oklahoma or Colorado.
Yes, ma'am. I'm all over the internet. Just Google me.
I love it. Felina Rivera, would you come back and speak with me in the future?
Absolutely. I've got all sorts of things happening all the time, so I would love to.
Well, we would love to have you. Thank you so very much for talking to me and my listeners today, especially in the rain. I hope there's no tornadoes going off later today.
No, it was just a little scattered storm. It's past now, so it's clear skies for the rest of the day, I think.
Well, good luck with the law and good luck with the music.
Thanks so much. Have a good day.
Well, enjoy the sunshine, sister. Thanks, y'all, for listening. Please come back to next Womanist Wednesday. You can find me on my website, lisalandry.com. Shout out, Ari. I love you, little boo-boo.